I was a very complex child. I didn't like a number of things about myself. I didn't even like the home I was born into. I felt there was something missing. I was very different from my siblings. Physically, I was different. My siblings are very slim and tall. I've always been around all my life. So I just felt there was something different about me. Fathers hardly sit down to talk about their flaws and their vulnerability. They only talk about their strengths and where they're perfect. So it makes the children who see only their vulnerability think they're not doing enough. There's a language that teenagers love, and that language is patience, nothing else. Patience and understanding. Stop the narrative of what will people say. For once, think about the child. So when a child has goofed and has gone out of line, don't say, I have failed. Say, what will happen to my child after this? If that child is a child you care about, pick up your child, clean up your child, and move on. So how are you telling someone to put in his best academically when there are icons and influencers on social media who just left school at some age? Maybe they finished, but their pride as at now is not in academics. So that's also a misfit. There's social pressure.
Welcome to yet another episode of ForFamilies Podcast. We keep it real here. We have conversations on the family, every aspect from pregnancy to childbirth to infanthood to childhood, teenagehood, even agbalagbahood. That is when everyone goes gray. And we love to have conversations around marriage, parenting, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the successes. This is where you come to, because let's face it, we're all members of a family. Your biological family, your work family, your church family, your mosque family, your football family, your sports family, whatever organization or passion you have, there's probably a family building there. So this is where you should be. My name is Isabella Aderonke. Always excited to bring you an episode of ForFamilies Podcast. If you aren't already following us on social media, please, today is the day that you follow us. You subscribe to our YouTube channel. You go to our TikTok page. We're also on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple Music or Spotify, you'll find ForFamilies Podcast. So don't just follow us. Tell someone to tell someone, and we love your feedback. So keep sending the messages, leaving the comments, and we'll be more than happy to respond and do justice here on the show. Like, some of the topics we discuss come from feedback, so that just shows that we listen. So if you want a particular guest or a topic, please don't hold back. Say it's Isabella that sent you, because I'm sending you, right? So let's get into our topic today. And this is an interesting one, because I'm a parent now, and some of the things I see, I'm like, God help me, because it's not easy. Like, I have little children, but in my mind, they are old people, because some of the things they say, how they think, is not like before. And these are little children. Imagine when they become teenagers, with the rising adoption of technology, the ever-evolving media landscape. So much information is at the disposal of our children, our teenagers. There's a lot of pressure. And if you think peer pressure was anything in the 90s, in the 2000s, welcome to 2026. Welcome to the 2030s that are ahead of us. The pressure is getting worse. So I know that they are teenagers, and parents are like, God help us. So this topic is one that Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, I've lost count of the letters of the alphabet. This is where we're going to be going deep into teenagehood. We say infanthood, childhood, then we skip that one, teenagehood, where it's not quite adulthood. They'll think they're adults, but it's also not childhood, because they'll be very quick to remind you that they are no longer children. They need their privacy. They know what they want. They're not going to take no for an answer. And like, Hold up, wait. So yes, that's what we're going to be discussing today, teenagehood. Now I can't wait for you to meet our guest. You know, we always bring the best of the best. We don't bring aspire to perspire to respire. We bring people that have the goods, they have the expertise, the experience, the credentials. So we'll give our guest a ForFamilies Podcast welcome. Are you guys even ready? I'm not sure you're ready. I'll tell my guests to go. No, let me feel the ginger. Yes. So our guest comes loaded with experience, expertise, the credentials. This is not aspire to perspire to respire. No, she deals with teenagers, teenhood. She is the author of Poise for Beginners series. So etiquette, how to handle yourself as a gentleman, as a lady. It doesn't happen when they become adults. And maybe 2 years, 3 years is still a bit too young. But you see that teenhood, that's where you get them to learn about their manners, their character, leadership. She's also the convener of the Teenage Leadership Boot Camp. So you have teenagers, send them to boot camp. Yes, let them go and learn how to be responsible so that tomorrow we're not on social media saying, they didn't train this one well. That's why he's doing this in a marriage. They didn't train this one well. That's why she's doing this. No, send them to Teenage Leadership Boot Camp. And she is the founder of Manners and Conduct Character Leadership Center. So manners, how you conduct yourself, how you're a leader. All of us are born to be leaders. Yes, make sure that you stay locked into this conversation because I have with me, you know her as Mrs. Fash, but I'll call her by her government name, Aderonke Faseru. Welcome to ForFamilies Podcast.
God, Isabella, you're a whole vibe, complete vibe.
Yes, so I had to put on my
so
teenage,
much.
I was like, before they'll say that I'm doing mama, I had to give it to them.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Looking very beautiful,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Fash.
Try
Giving
to look
it
like
to her. Thank you. Wash. Wow. So quite a lot you do. And I love the fact that we have professionals that are paying attention to that often neglected segment. They're not quite adults, but they're no longer children, and they're definitely not infants. Have you always wanted to work with teenagers, or did something, an experience, or God told you to go and work with teenagers?
Thank you so much. I have always looked for a platform where someone will ask me this.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because I'm in the media space in church, and I do a lot of the anchoring. Whenever my name comes up on the guest list, pastor says, no, she has to be the anchor. So I love that question. And so I'll just tell you, I was a very complex child. I didn't like a number of things about myself. I didn't even like the home I was born into. I felt there was something missing. I was very different from my siblings. Physically, I was different. My siblings are very slim and tall. I've always been around all my life, So I just felt there was something different about me, and I didn't think talking to anybody in the house was going to help in any way. But along the line, I met friends. I got into associations. Thank God they were not extreme. But I think talking to people helped me to really find my identity and become who I am today. When I felt I'd found healing, I saw that my mom didn't hate me. I just did not accept her, and that just got me to see that a lot happens in the minds of teenagers, a whole lot. And I told myself that as many teenagers that I can help come to healing, I'll devote myself to doing it. And I guess I found so much joy doing it. Then added to the fact that I'm a soft-spoken person, I am a soft girl in a mild way. So there's a way I like things to be done. A few people tell me my own is too much. I have a northern background, so it gives me this, she's kind of naive feeling, or she's touche, or she's, my husband's family, they treat me with so much care. So I think it's because of the fact that there's a way I want to be received, there's a way I want to be perceived, and I am very happy to teach. So that's how I got into teaching, because I've seen that it's best when you do it from cradle. Most of the people who are transgendered today did not become adults to decide they want to be transgendered. Something was missing when they were children. So I feel there's a gap that parents are not able to identify, and that's what my team and I do. We help them to come back to their children and see that it's not okay to just birth a child. You've got to understand the child. You've got to help the child through the transition stages, especially when the child is moving from a young child into the teenage ages. You see, the preteen and teenage stage, very, very important part that you wouldn't want to lose anyone. So I guess my personal experience led me into it, because when I sit this way, I was very, very good at sitting presently and being absent in the mind. So I feel that parents just need, I don't want anybody to fall into my shoes, and I'm happy I found healing fast. It didn't come from home. So I know that children do better when there's some influence in the form of mentorship. Yeah. So now we do it professionally. I went to study after qualifying as an accountant to be able to be resourceful and not just have an ability to do it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that experience, and well done on the anchoring. It is coming through. Can you not see how articulated and well-spoken and soft-spoken and eloquent? So well done. And when you look back at your childhood, your teenage years, do you think that there were outlets that you could have expressed yourself? So whether it's to your parents or to your siblings,
some community,
or even like school or church, like were there outlets where you could have maybe shared some of what you were going through? I mean, social media wasn't what it is now. So now everybody just goes and pours out what they are feeling on a live or in a post.
Okay. All right. So we had something called a Good News Club. Someone who also felt she had a ministry towards teenagers. She was a very strict teacher, but somehow whenever she pulled us together, she would show us the Word of God. Because what my parents did was to take us to Sunday school. We didn't really have sessions at home where they showed us the Word of God. Or we also didn't have sessions where we discussed family values and some of those. So Mrs. Aderonke, that's her name, she was the founder of the Good News Club, and whenever we went to her, it had to do with the Bible, but she taught the Bible in gist form, mentorship, use her children, use experiences around us, and then she would lead us to pray. We didn't do any feedback sessions with her. Like now, one of the things that I do majorly is to sit and listen to the children on an individual basis. So I never had an individual session with her, but I love the fact that whenever we went to her place, we didn't discuss academics. That's to say I was not top 5 or top 10. So I was running away from, don't talk to me about maths or English. So we didn't discuss academics, and it was a no judgment zone. So there was no, this is what you're not doing right, no? And it didn't mean she condoned our weaknesses. It just meant whenever she saw us, we would take the page to a fresh one, and then we would gist. And he had a God feeling behind it. So you left there feeling good. So that's all it was.
So it's important that children, teenagers have a place where they can get individualized mentoring and opportunities to express themselves, to feel heard. What do you think is the major cause of a lot of what we're seeing with teenagers now, whether it's the peer pressure, the suicide, the depression, like it's across the world, and even like the questioning of their identity? What do you think is causing all of this in our teenagers?
I love the way you broke that down, because it just means you also admit that there's a problem somewhere. There's a gap somewhere. There's something the previous generation left unfinished that others have picked, and the gap keeps getting wider. So I would say it can be attributed to a number of things. The first would be the rising expectations. My father did this, I did this, so I have to do this. So I think parents should maybe take it easy with the kind of expectations these guys have, because every father came first. Every father studied and came out at 21.
But every father did not come first.
That's what they tell us. That's what they tell. Then secondly, fathers hardly sit down to talk about their flaws and their vulnerability. They only talk about their strengths and where they're perfect. So it makes the children who see only their vulnerability think they're not doing enough. That's one. Another is the rising social pressure. These days, the people who are in our faces on social media might not even be the best in terms of academics and intelligence. So how are you telling someone to put in his best academically when there are icons and influencers on social media who just left school at some age? Maybe they finished, but their pride as at now is not in academics. So that's also a misfit. There's social pressure. Thirdly, we have individuals who are in the space and different corners of these children who are present but do not mean well. I'm not only referring to people who abuse children sexually. I'm referring to people who abuse the strength of children. Whatever you don't allow to grow, you abuse it. You make it of no effect. Because imagine if a woman who's carrying a pregnancy, who's supposed to take the pregnancy to 9 months, and then you see her belly at 6 months and say, this baby is so big, bring the baby out. The chances of the baby surviving will be almost maybe 0.1. That's what we do with teenagers. They're not even there yet. Stop bringing them out. Whatever is important to you should be allowed to nurture and get to term before you bring it to the open. So I think we exploit the strengths of these teenagers. People just feel, if I have a child that is up to this stage, then I need to let the world know that I've succeeded. So I would say rising expectations also in that regard from family, friends. My cousin is doing this, so there are a lot of comparisons. Okay, and then I'd also say schools are doing a lot. But if you've been following a couple of my posts on social media, I talk about the affective domain a lot. I do not think we should continue as a system to insist on cognitive growth. As much as I love first class, I love 2-1. I qualified as a chartered accountant at 25. I finished my master's early. I'm currently doing my doctorate. So I believe so much in cognitive development. But I feel people are exposed because of the affective domain that did not develop. Affective domain, by that I mean that part of your report card that talks about punctuality, how you respond to your teachers, how you respond when you're angry at school, how you handle corrections, how you handle your materials. That part is so important because that tells you what your child will look like in future, beyond the academics. So while we push cognitive, let's go back and do something about the affective domain. Let parents see that an A does not guarantee responsibility. It might help a child to be successful, but there are many successful adults who are not responsible. So there must be a balance.
I agree with you. That very heavy load of expectations, it can weigh seriously on the teenagers, where they feel like they're just not measuring up or there's no one like them. So how can parents effectively mentor their children, but also find suitable mentors? Because sometimes see finish happens. The children are like, what does mommy want to tell me? Because they know all the ins and outs of mommy's life. Same thing with daddy. But when they say Mrs. Fash, okay, let me listen. It's the same thing with little children. They listen to what their teacher tells them. When you tell them, you say, oh, you're not a teacher. I'll tell my daughter and son, like, I used to be a teacher. In fact, I'm a teacher. So how can you step into that role as a parent to mentor your children, but also find others to complement the work? Because it does take a village to raise a child.
Thank you so much. I like the way you put that question. So it starts from the parents. I like the fact that you did not say, how can parents get the best mentors? How can parents be well equipped to be able to handle these things? And then how do they know that this mentor is safe for their children? So first things first, parents should change the narrative. What does it even mean to be a parent? Is it about being a caretaker or being a disciplinarian or just watching over the child or doing your best? Sometimes some parents just feel, let me do my best, because when they become adults, they'll still do what is in their mind. So the narrative must change. And when I say the narrative will change, you've got to be intentional about what you want to see. So you don't raise a child given the circumstances. You raise a child to become what you think you want him to be. Because, I mean, that part of the Bible, sorry, I'm faith-based, so I might refer to the Bible.
It's okay.
The part of the Bible that talks about an arrow not launching itself, that somebody needs to launch an arrow and that person determines how far the arrow will go. I believe that so much. I believe no arrow can be shot on its own when it's not an AI arrow. Somebody else needs to manually, pull out the bow string and make sure the arrow goes very far. That's the same way with children. No matter how smart a child sounds at 3, 4, 5, he's still a child. So the adult must take his or her place and be the adult in the home. By being the adult, I mean start early, introduce family values. It takes a whole community to raise a child, but charity begins at home. The home plays a very important role, especially from the foundation. Have family values, teach the values, test the values, model the values. So what we do in Nigeria is we teach the values, we don't test the values. We believe parents are above the values. Teach the values and test the values. When you fail, let the children know, I'm just human. I should have done this. I know to do this now. I wouldn't do this again. Let them understand that when we have things that don't work out, we don't sit there sulking. When you lose your job, call your children and tell them, I was wrong in this regard, or this happened. When I get another job, I'll do this differently. Let them be part of the thinking process. Don't say they're too young, because in reality, whatever you don't say to them, somebody will say to them outside, but might not use your terminology, and that might work against you. So introduce family values early. Secondly, introduce connection. Connection without correction is a waste of time. Many parents want to correct when they have not connected. This is why I don't encourage people to just go outside pointing fingers. That girl is so spoiled. You are not even connected with me. When you said if they hear Mrs. Fash, they listen. I don't mentor children I don't have a connection with. So nobody can call me and say, talk to my child, and I say, give her the phone. No, I need to see her. I even need to check if your child is willing to talk about it. So the first thing I ask the child is it okay to talk about this? Are you sure you want me to talk about this? And when they have said everything, I have a no judgment face. I don't show any reactions, no emotions. When we are done, I ask again, is it okay if I tell you what I think about it? So language also matters with teenagers. People believe they are becoming rebellious, so you have to be firm. If you were soft before, now bring it on in the iron hand. That's a wrong narrative. You need to connect. You need to understand them. You need to understand that managing transition is not easy. When we move from milk teeth to permanent teeth, it's tough. So when a child is also trying to move from becoming a child into the teenage hood, you find out that their emotions are rising. People tell them different things outside. They see different things all around. So there's a lot of confusion in their minds. There's a whole lot. So you need to understand. If you didn't have time, 0 to 10, which I do not subscribe to, you must have time for your preteen. You must have time for your teenager. You need to understand that children react to things differently. I have 3 children, and the 3 of them are different. What I want to get from the first, I might not get from the second using the method I use for the first. That's why the Bible says train up a child. Don't train up children. Even the family values, let them contribute to it. So you know that A gave us number 1, B gave us number 2. So when we get to number 2, we are asking B, tell us why you are insisting as a family we should adopt this. Don't just shove it down their throat. One strong narrative that I feel our parents could have done better is they assumed we were to accept everything that they brought to us. So they didn't care about the approach. So I'm saying because they're children, they might not know better, but the approach is important. These days, Generation Alpha, and I say a good number of Gen Zs have information at their disposal. So what our parents used to know that we don't know, it's not the same now. In fact, what a 10-year-old might know in parenting might be better than what the parents know, because we are in the era of information gathering being very, very easy. The whole media landscape becoming something that anybody can access. You don't have to be an adult to be able to access it. So I would say they also need to be enlightened. Like, see what you're doing, this family podcast. People come, listen, and pick a thing or two. Make sure you're engaged in communities that promote your understanding. Because, trust me, if you use the manual that worked 25 years ago, the system will crash. The software will not work now. Because a lot of things have changed. So they've got to be enlightened. They've got to get themselves in communities where they're speaking same voice. So they feel that, okay, if this can work here, maybe I also need to adopt same. Then finally, I would say everybody must go back and look for a feedback session. So parents talk, but do they listen? I think the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Yeah.
A lot of times is, I want to tell you what to do, and you will do
Have
it.
you heard? let's
and
go.
that's
That's
it.
all.
And I find that things are changing because I look at my children and I'm just thinking like, see, look at this one questioning me, telling me no. And there's a part of me like, and my husband will say, imagine you can't try this one with my dad, or you can't. And I'm happy that they have the opportunity to engage, because that's a place of connection. So yes, you're challenging me, but then I'll put you through and let you know, and when I need to be firm, but they know that they can speak. I mean, they're still young now. So I want to go back to my earlier question, because sometimes when we're looking for mentors for our children or our teenagers, it's usually in the line of career. Okay, you want to be a doctor. My friend is a doctor. Okay, my son wants to come and talk to you, or you want to be a musician. Maybe when you talk to him, you know that music he wants to do, he should not do. But how can parents broaden their minds when it comes to selecting mentors for different aspects, not just careers? And where can they find these mentors? I know as adults, it's easier to go to associations, organizations, and their mentoring schemes. But for teenagers, there's a lot more work that needs to be done.
Intelligent perspective, when you spoke about various aspects, because you were correct with that. Most people believe when we talk about mentors, who can help this child to do the course that I want him to do. Secondly, how do I get a mouthpiece? People are not looking for mentors, they're looking for mouthpiece. The others that will just maybe amplify their voices, or you say the same thing in another language, in a softer language, but just go and be my daddy's messenger. And then you hear them telling those so-called mentors in the form of uncles and aunties and cousins, big cousins, that this is what I want for him to do. And then the mentor starts with, you have to do what your daddy wants you to do. While I think that's in order, I just feel the approach should be different. So parents must first understand that mentors are needed for different things. Sometimes you might want to have a family mentor. Maybe you see a family that understand how to connect with ease. They are not struggling to connect, and they are not pretending. Because I know when they say you get into a room, you see two brothers coming out happily. They didn't tell themselves each other the truth. I beg your pardon. If you see them fighting, it means somebody has said the truth. So some other people have they got the memo on time. They understand the strategy to having a well-knit family. So you might want to just within your space get someone who you believe would help that child understand family values. But in picking mentors, I'd say parents should also be part of the process. They should be part of the process. Don't just pick someone that the child says, I saw on the street or social media, or I just saw this person. Test the values. I'm a fan of testing values. You must check how this thing that can stretch, what's the elasticity limit, what can this person take. Go and study the person before you introduce your child to that person, and also monitor it. So there can be private sessions, there could be group sessions, because what your child does not know, you know. So at those group sessions, yes, the child has learned to trust the mentor, but the mentor must understand that I'm part of the process, because I want to be involved in the details of my child, since my child is still growing up. So you also want to have someone that can connect with your child emotionally. Teenagers need a lot of emotional support. In my academy, we have a curriculum for raising children emotionally. And I know it's not found in books, it's not found in most schools, but we have seen that when you start early, the children tend to trust you. And if they trust you, they talk to you more. What we're saying is teenagers are easily misunderstood because they don't talk. The truth is they don't talk to you, but they still talk. So make sure you understand that you also have limits. So look for books. Some of these things are hidden in books. Some of these things are hidden in seminars. Expose yourself to it. You don't know it all. So I work with teenagers, but I have two teens. My son was easy. I don't know, maybe other people feel that men, it's a lot tougher. But you see, my daughter just made me feel I was talking to people outside and just wasting my time in the house. Like, what is going on here? So I had to get someone for my daughter as well. So because I know how it works when it comes to myself handling other people's children, I understood that I had limitations with my daughter. I didn't have to say, I'm the teenage coach here, I'm the so. I needed help, and I went to get help. So that's what parents should do. They must first understand their expectation gaps. Those gaps are not created by them. Sometimes they are created by systems. Sometimes they are created by expectations of everybody, extended family. You can imagine my first son saying to us at one of our family meetings that his biggest fear is doing what the oldest cousin in the family has done. And in my head, I didn't say it out. Do you want to kill yourself? Because the guy has left some very big shoes. While I like the fact that he's inspired by his big cousin, I had to tell him in a very stylish way and in a very calm way that you're not going to set out trying to become somebody else. He did that, and he continues to do it, and I'm so proud of him. You need to do you. Do you pace your success, understand that you're still becoming, and because you're becoming, be patient with yourself. Many adults are very impatient. Why do we have Yahoo boys today? Why do we have hookup girls today? Because they're impatient. They believe I want it and I want it now. So somebody must get them to see that there's nothing wrong with no. Why must you be angry when you get a no? Why must you be angry when you're told you can't have it? How was this child taught from the beginning? Sometimes you just can't have it, and that is fine. That does not need an explanation. So if we teach these things early, either from ourselves, I like what some teenage churches do now. Some churches that are enlightened. They've touched up their teenage church to involve the word and also mentorship, because teenagers need a lot of emotional support. Then I love books. Those things they say about books, I think we would have done better. That's our parents would have done better if they had exposed us to books. And people who expose their children to books, it's showing now, because there are certain knowledge, wisdom, tips in books that will help your child change some mindset. So that's another thing that we introduce in my circle. We love it when we can review books together. These things are kind of theoretical, but if you are patient enough to put them in practice, you will see the results.
So many gems there, the family values, develop them, test them, and also when you spoke about mentoring, I'm just wondering, there's some parents who are watching and they're thinking, you know what, I need a parents boot camp because I've not done all these things you've said I should do. We don't have family values. We don't have mentors. In fact, I've gone to get other people to rubber stamp what I want and mouthpieces. What can I do now? Maybe their children or their teenagers are so disconnected. Yeah. They don't talk to them. There's a lot of eye service or dry, and they know that something is not right, but they just don't know where to start from. So what message do you have for them? Okay. Because you can't feel stuck. Like, this child, 3 years, they are out of the house, or they go to boarding school, so you don't even see them all the time. You just have 30 minutes, an hour with them, and next thing, they're gone.
Okay, so I would say start by accepting that you also need to grow. Adults need to grow. The fact that you're a parent does not give you the license to raise children in an optimal way. You've got to grow. As the children are growing, grow as well. Grow in your ability to do better. Grow in patience. Parents need to be patient. We have too many impatient parents. People who believe it has got to be this, and that's what it should be. So I think parents need to grow in patience. Parents should be a lot more patient, and parents should create time. So there's a difference between time and quality time. What do? Everybody presses their phones. Even when we say let's stay together, somebody is pressing some phone. Somebody is saying let's watch a movie. No, that's not quality time. If we're going to talk, let's talk and check. Did you say this? Oh, when this happened, what did you do? How did you handle this? What if this is done? Do things together. Go buy things together. Ask what your child's opinion is. Go and have meals together. If the child is not in the country, put on the child's birthday, open a Zoom account or chat and do the video. Everybody eat together. Do things that would help you remain bonded. That's one thing that peer have over parental influence. Peer influence, they nurture it. Friends nurture their relationships. They check up on their friends. You see someone saying, my friend said, have you read the Bible today? Let the mom say, have you read the Bible today? The child will not answer. Because if the girl says, have you read the Bible today? And the friend says no, what will her friend say? My dear queen, drop this phone, go and read your Bible. But what will the mom say? Go and read your Bible. Leave this place, go and read your Bible. So the language also needs to change. There's a language that teenagers love, and that language is patience, nothing else. Patience and understanding. So I also feel one thing parents need to do, and this is my heart to everybody who's listening to me now. Stop the narrative of what will people say. For once, think about the child. So when a child has goofed and has gone out of line, don't say, I have failed. Say, what will happen to my child after this? If that child is a child you care about, pick up your child, clean up your child, and move on. I'm not asking that you cover your child's sin, but I'm asking that that's one time that the child needs you the most. So before your child goes so wild and wants to maybe become pregnant, do your work from the beginning. So I've been doing this for the past 8 years. I've never seen a teenager tell me I have sex. I've had people that had sex and they brought them to me and they probably do not see the desire to want to continue doing that because I fill their minds with different things. I've engaged their mind with different things. Because when people are, for example, let me break it down. If you like to say, you're a fool, the child will wake up thinking, I'm just a fool. Now, if a child has a clear picture of where the child is going to, the child will see pregnancy as a distraction. So the question is, what picture does your child have for him or herself? Not what is the picture you have for that child. So let this child be at the center of his or her learning. Not, hey, the world will not have failed. They will look at me and say, what's my gain? How many children do I have? That is, no, all of those things are emotional blackmail and they're very unfair. Before you get to that point, start early and let the child know it's about you. So what do you want? Sometimes in my life, so my first child, I didn't know as much as I know now. And trust me, I beat the boy, I beat that boy because I just felt you're not listening to me. Now I have a child who's 9 years younger than my first child, and I don't beat him. So my older child says, "Mommy, you're spoiling this boy." And in my head, I feel like this boy is a lot more organized than you were, because this younger one is more of I use knowledge and skills in raising him. Yeah, sometimes I snap, but I don't beat him as often as I used to be the first one. So I feel many times we bring the cane, the authority leaves our voice to our hands, because there's not much in the brain that can help us, because there are options you can deploy and your children will turn out well. The first thing is kick out the fear. Fear will not help you to gain the trust from your children, because they know you're scared. They know. And then when they do, they say, hey, what will my mommy do? Let's look for children that would say, I've done something wrong and my mom needs to know.
That's powerful. The responsibility is really on us to grow, to be patient, to be intentional, and to have that vision for ourselves and for the family, and to make everybody feel part of it. I think there's just so much that I'm even gaining. I don't yet have teenage children, but I'm like, I'm going to, when the time comes, I'm not going to dull myself, because there's a knowledge gap, and that's true. As we bring this conversation to a close, I want us to use practical examples. You already brought up pregnancy, so that's a big one. That fear, if I get pregnant now and then the girl goes to go and do an abortion and something goes wrong and there are health complications, in some cases it can even lead to death. And then you have maybe, which is more common sometimes with the boys, fraud, yahoo, cultism, gang, hookup, those things, they don't start when they are adults. They begin to manifest and build and solidify in that teenage. In fact, sometimes you hear people in primary school having sex and are doing all sorts because of these gadgets. So in those situations, for parents who have found themselves there, or maybe they know people who have children that have engaged in sorts, what advice do you have for them? Practical things that they can do.
Okay, so as a coach, I must also tell you that at the beginning, one major fear that always lived in my head for free was, what if one of these children that you're raising or you're influencing just suddenly goes way out of line? Because sometimes those ears are like decorative gadgets on the head of the children. Sometimes the ears don't work sometimes. So I believe we train the ears to work. So I would say, if so that was my fear, but that's not my fear anymore, because I've been able to see that actually I walk towards what I want. I put it in God's hands. I hide my children in God, and then I teach. So I don't assume. I don't assume my children will pick values as they grow. I don't assume. When I say my children, I'm referring to every child that I've been privileged to work with. And the ones that are not even born, that I didn't give birth to, they know the children that are from my head and the ones that are from my womb. I tell them that some of you are from my heart, and the ones that are from my head, I had you when I was not thinking, because you're not behaving like me. So I believe so much in modeling. I believe in starting from the foundation. I believe in patience. That's one of my strongest attributes. I want to believe if there's a litmus test to check patience in the world, I might be top 5. I'm a very patient person, and that helps me to work with teenagers. But I would also say I like to be intentional. So in the event that someone has not started well, you haven't started right, you don't have this foundation, but you want to do things differently, today presents a perfect opportunity to do things differently, even if that child has a mistake. So I have mentored people who had children in their teenage ages and they are back on track. Yes, the child is a reminder of a mistake, but the pain of the child is not as sweet as the fact that they are back on track. So when people make mistakes, the question is, should this mistake be the final stop of that child? Do you think the potentials you one time saw in this child still exist? What do we do with the potentials? Do we kill it because of the mistake? So don't kill yourself, and don't think an end has come because your child made a mistake. Dust your child. There will always be consequences, but dust your child and get back on track. Don't tell yourself, and stop making it a shame about you. The fact that certain people do not bring out their areas of pain does not mean they are better than you are, and there's really no basis for comparison. Just focus on your child and get that child back on track. And then for those who live in fear that what if this child does, the child has not done anything, but you're already saying, this child is about to, the way the child is going, stop preempting things and get to work. Instead of preempting and watching a movie and say, where is my child now? Do you know what this child is doing now? Why don't you get to work? Why don't you become humble yourself, go learn, give your child time? I know that children love time. It's not only women that love time. Not only women that love attention. Children love time. When you spend time with children, they will tell you what you need to know. When you give it time, and then you're patient and you are not so judgmental. There's a language. Like Cobalt came with a language. Teenagers have a language. Go and learn it. There's a way to talk to them and they would answer you.
She schooled us, or she schooled us. Go and learn it. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you so much. So many gems there. I'm already feeling like, wow, I'm back in school. Like, there are a lot of things that we need to do as parents, and I could relate to, the time investment, the knowledge investment, and also that self-awareness where you know that maybe this particular child, you're not the best person. Maybe it's your husband, or maybe it's a close friend, a mentor, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable. And thank you for addressing that elephant in the room, which is the fear. Nothing has happened, but if she continues like this, she can do like this. Walk towards what you want. So thank you so much again, and wish you all the best with all the endeavors, the book, the show.
Yes.
You did tell us about your show.
But we have a boot camp coming up in April, from the
Okay.
17th to the 19th of April.
17th to the 19th.
The details will be out from the 1st of February, and we've got I like to call them A-list speakers. We've got individuals that will blow everybody's mind. I've had a conversation with each and every one of them, and they're all excited about it because they're only coming to share their stories. Once you see our flyer, know that they're coming in to share their stories. So they will be saying to us what we wish somebody had told us many years ago.
Wow, thank you. Wish you all the best with the event,
you.
and thank you once again for being our guest on ForFamilies Podcast.
Thank you, Isabella.
Welcome to the part where I put you on to what I'm loving now. And if you've been following ForFamilies Podcast, you know that I'm back in my bookaholic era. Like, books are like 5 and 6, so I'm loving a lot of books, and I can't wait to share what I'm loving now, which is Sleepy Guppy Says Bedtime Must Wait, and it's written by Adebola Rayo, illustrated by Anuoluwapo Anjolaoluwa and Jeffrey Oyem. And just looking at, I know you cannot feel the quality, but it's really good quality. It's hardback. Just look at some of the illustrations, easy on the eye, really cute. Look at these cute fishes. Oh, the cute fish. And I mean, I'm going to read a few pages, but I just want you to just take in just how beautiful the writing and the illustrations are. And then we have a place for coloring, so it's like a 2-in-1. You enjoy the story, you enjoy the pictures, and then your child has the opportunity to color. I know these days some of us adults, we're itching to color, right? That's why we have adult coloring books. Maybe you color one side and your child color the other side, but I love the fact that it has a coloring aspect to it. You can definitely write your child's name here. This belongs to, and then it's published by Tani and www.taniseries.com. If you've been following ForFamilies Podcast, you know that we're fans of Tani series, and we've reviewed 2 of their books here on ForFamilies Podcast. So I'm not surprised with the quality. I personally know the author. She's an amazing writer. I've known her for many years, and she has distinguished herself in writing, in communications, and I'm so excited to see that she's finally put pen to paper. Like, she's inspired me. Like, one day myself, I will come to ForFamilies Podcast and say, guys, see my book. And when someone has spent so much of their time writing for others and they finally put their words on paper, I think it's amazing, because it's the experience. So just like I promised, I'll just read a little and then you go and buy yourself a copy. For J.O. Bassi, who inspires me endlessly. So, I just love the sing-song of the prose. Bedtime must wait. Oh, it must wait. Please, 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 repetition. Let me stay up late. So you have the wait and the late rhyming. I see what you did there, Adebola Rayo. And just to give you the synopsis, it says, Sleepy Guppy would rather imagine adventures than say good night. Putting any child to bed, they would rather be awake and let their imagination run well than sleep. So here's the question. Can she convince mommy and daddy to let her stay up late, or will they guide her into dreamland? So who wins this battle? Is it going to be Sleepy Guppy, who really needs sleep, or is it going to be mommy and daddy who will guide her into dreamland? So yes, looking for a gift, or you just want to relive your childhood, and because adults read picture books these days, or you have little ones, I highly recommend what I'm loving now, which is Sleepy Guppy Says Bedtime Must Wait. And congratulations, Adebola Rayo, truly an inspiration, and lovely illustrations by Anuoluwapo Anjolaoluwa and Jeffrey Oyem. If you have a story in you, this might just be your cue to go and put words to paper, and who knows, it might end up here. Welcome to the part where I try my best to answer your burning question. So this question actually is something that has come up several times. Sometimes you hear it in conversations and you're like, what? Just imagine a scenario, a child coming back to the house and is questioning the vehicle, the car that you used to drop them in school. Like, mommy, because you use this car to drop me, my friends say I'm poor. Say waiting. Or, mommy, are we really poor because the people in my class, they have a driver, they have G-Wagon, they go on holiday, they travel business class, they don't enter economy, they have the latest gadgets, they have the latest designer clothes, and it's the thing of peer pressure. This generation, I don't know how, maybe it's because there's so much influence on social media and there's a curated lifestyle and a lot of impatience that children are under so much pressure to arrive, to have the latest things. And as a parent, I feel like it's really important that from a very young age, you teach your children what your family values are. Just like we heard in this episode, like, you teach them what your values are. It's important that they know that we stand for this and that as a family. And if your family values is centered on materialism, then maybe you're the best person to answer that kind of question. But I feel like our values should not be on cars and the houses and things that are material. It should be on immaterial things like being trustworthy, being honest, being faithful, being kind, being respectful. Those are values that you can teach your children, and those things are more important. Like having a good reputation. As a woman of faith, the Bible says a good name is worth more than rubies. So let's use rubies as a metaphor or is symbolic of a big car. And the Bible is saying, look, having a good reputation is more important, is worth more, is more valuable than the kind of car you drive. And if you break it down to your children to know that, look, a vehicle is meant to move you from A to B. Does the vehicle move you from the house to your school? The answer is yes. It could be your own vehicle. It could be a rented vehicle. It could be a friend's vehicle. It could be the school bus. It could be keke napep. It could be a downfall bus. It could be Okada. It could even be Legady's Benz. They are walking to school. The fact is that you can go to school, that you have an education is a big blessing. How you now get there is dependent on like the pockets of your parents. And there are parents that have bigger cars, but for whatever reason, they've chosen not to use those cars to drop their children in school. So it's not for that child to come and tell you that, mommy, I want you to use the G-Wagon and don't use the Toyota Corolla or... Nah, I think what is important is that your child is so grounded that they are even able to respond to their classmates that, look, it has nothing to do with, wealth or whether I'm poor or I'm rich. That we have an education, we are blessed. That we can get to school every day. It's a miracle. It doesn't matter. I can have a big car and in fact, the cars do not even belong to the children. So why are we even having a conversation in the first place? Their daddy and mommy's cars, or is the school vehicle, or that's what daddy and mommy can afford, that they don't feel the need to feel under pressure. That instead it can even become gist that daddy, mommy, can you imagine this person was telling me about car that us were using this car. I just reminded her that, see, there are people that don't even have an education. So me, I have an education. Why am I even worried? At least I have a car that can bring me. What if I had to trek 3 kilometers? And when I told her, she started to wonder why. And I told him, he was like, it's true. And he changed the perspective, as opposed to, mommy, daddy, this is what they said, so please change the car. I think we can do better as parents in building up our children so that when these pressures come, is small fish to fry. How would you handle that situation? I'd like to know. Hit me up in the comments and keep those questions coming. Wow, what a show we've had so far. Wow, I don't like it when the show comes to an end. But the good thing is that we'll have a new one coming again. So if you're not already locked in, you're not already subscribed, you're not already in the ForFamilies Podcast family online, this is the part where I ask you, I plead with you to share the link, subscribe, tap the notification bell so that you know when a new episode drops, and follow us on the different social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok. So leave a comment, send a DM, and let us know what you'd like us to discuss. If you have burning questions, there's something that you're loving now, tell me, put me on. I'm always the one putting you guys up, but put me on to the good stuff. And of course, if there are particular guests or topics you'd like us to treat, let us know and we'll see what we can do. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone. It takes a lot to do a show, and when you have people who consistently show up to watch and to give feedback, it makes us very happy. So thank you so much, and I remain your host, Isabella Aderonke, and this is, of course, ForFamilies Podcast. Bye.